Seahawks and Monday football. Yeah, we're hoping to have a better return, but thank you very much for coming. And like Vince said, I got a short presentation of 16 slides about the regional water development cost charge update process and findings. And so basically this presentation is going to give you an overview of what DCCs are, why they're needed, and how the rates are calculated and what the changes are from current rates to what's proposed. And then it's going to show some of the next steps after the consultation process. So just to provide a little bit of background, this is essentially the third step in a three-step process. And I don't know if you were participated in the development of a comprehensive regional water plan, but we adopted a master plan for the regional water system last year. And what that looked at was a 25-year planning horizon on our water system today, projecting what the growth is going to be over those 25 years and what the water needs are going to be then, and then mapped out a plan on how we're going to deliver that water. So it identified all the large capital projects that we're going to be needing in the next 25 years. And those capital projects feed into the DCC plan. And then the next step was we developed a business plan and rates development based on the operating and maintenance costs and asset replacement of the existing system. And that was adopted in December of last year. And this year is the first year of the new rates. But those are just the rates to sustain the operations and maintenance of the existing system. And then the development cost charge bylaw update, which is the last step, is looking at the rates to support growth through development. And I should note too that this is just the regional water DCC review. This SCRD comprises of 3 water service areas. We have the North Pender water service area, which is fed through Garden Bay Lake. And we have the South Pender water service area, which is supplied through McNeil Lake. And the regional water system is the rest of the system from Egmont down to Langell. And that's the area that we're looking at right now. North and South Pender will go through their own DCC review process coming up. So we're only looking at the regional water DCCs, which encompasses most of the water system. This is just a map showing you the regional DCC area, and it extends from Secret Cove down to Langell.
What's the difference between the light green and the darker color?
The darker is just lot lines that the lot lines are not close, so this is darker. So basically, it's just the outline of the green shows the service area catchment. So those are the properties that this DCC bylaw will apply to. And the reason why we separated out, this is Egmont and Cove K, which is Rouse Cove. And those systems won't be connected to the regional water system. We don't anticipate them to be connected to the regional water system for the next 25 years. So they don't benefit from the regional water system, so we've decided to create a separate rate structure for those areas. And same with Eastbourne on Keats Island. We don't anticipate that system being connected to the regional water system, so they have their own rate structure as well. So just a general overview of how local governments pay for new infrastructure, and in our case it's water infrastructure, is through rezoning we can negotiate development agreements with the developer to contribute towards new infrastructure and amenities. And this is typical. We require service agreements for subdivisions. So typically the developer will put in the water infrastructure to service their immediate subdivision. And then what we're talking about here today is the assessing DCCs. And as well, we apply for senior government grants and we use gas tax revenues from the federal government. And as well, we could utilize property tax revenue. And in the water cases, in the water systems case, we also charge parcel taxes and user fees. So we can use that to contribute to new infrastructure. We're here to focus on DCCs. So what are DCCs? Development cost charges. They're essentially required to fund infrastructure to support growth. So the second bullet there says it's the user-paid principle, essentially based on the principle that growth pays for growth. So it's fees levied on development to fund infrastructure that is needed for expansion. Operations, maintenance, and projects benefiting only the existing customers. We don't use development cost charges towards anything that benefits existing customers. And it's not just another tax. DCCs are based on actual needs. It's not a comparison of other communities. It's identifying what your needs are, and I mentioned that we developed a comprehensive regional water plan, and that specifically looks at the needs of the region, what the water needs are going to be, and the specific infrastructure we need to build in order to service that need. So it's going to vary from community to community, and depending on what their water needs are and what their current infrastructure can support. So it's not a comparison of other local governments. And the process is based on the Development Cost Charge Best Practices Guide, which was put out by the province in 1995. So all the municipalities, all the local governments in BC generally follow that guide, so that we're comparing apples with apples. We're all following the same process. And a big thing is it allows development to proceed. So DCCs help facilitate development. They're not a hinder to development, they actually help facilitate it, because it basically takes the cost burden, it allows us to pool the revenue, so that, say a small developer came in and we needed to fund a water treatment plant. No way could a small development actually contribute the $6 million we need to develop a new water treatment plant. And so what it allows us to do is collect fees from all development, pool it all together so that not a single developer is paying the big shot for the water treatment plant. So it helps facilitate development by sharing the cost burden through the pooling of revenues. And without adequate DCCs, either existing taxpayers, existing users of the water system would have to pay for the future needs, or the infrastructure won't be built, and essentially you can't support the additional growth. This is a question that's asked quite often, is do DCCs affect housing affordability? And the short answer is no. Affordability is based on market conditions. Developers set the price of the house based on what market conditions are, not the cost of actually building the house. What it does do, though, it does cut into developers' bottom line. So the higher the DCCs, the more it cuts into the profit margins. The draft bylaw does provide incentives to build smaller, more compact developments. So you'll see that the townhouse and apartment DCCs are based on square meter of floor space rather than per unit. And this also supports our the We Envision Regional Sustainability Plan goal. So the update objectives for this report is to essentially update the capital project list and the cost estimates, make them as accurate as possible. There's two components to the DCCs. It's the capital projects and basically the costs and the growth rate. So first we've got to get the capital projects and the costs right, and that's what the comprehensive regional water plan was all about. And second, it's get the growth projections as accurate as possible. So to ensure that we collect the appropriate quantity of DCCs. And we ensure that the DCCs are consistent with the goals of the LCPs and the financial plans. And one thing that we have done with the proposed DCC bylaw is currently we have our current DCCs are broken into 3 geographical areas. We have Eastern, which would be from Langdale this way, Seashell, and Western, which is beyond Seashell up to Pender Harbor. And we're not quite sure why they're broken up that way in the past, but now the regional water system benefits all areas equally. So we're proposing to mold them into a single DCC with exceptions for Egmont, Cove Cay, and Eastbourne. And we talked about the incentives to construct more sustainable compact units, and we also want to clarify in the report what qualifies for exemptions and credits. I touched on this briefly on how DCCs are calculated. It's pretty straightforward. You have to just take the project costs and you subtract what's apportioned to what benefits existing users. And currently, when we pulled it all together, we figured that 37% of all those costs benefit existing users. And it's actually estimated on a project-by-project basis. And then we subtract the existing DCC reserves, and currently we have about $800,000 in reserves. And then we subtract the municipal assist factor. And this number could be any number selected by the local government. Typically it's 1%, that's the minimum. But sometimes some local governments will adjust that in order, if it's, after you've done all the calculations, if the rate increase is going to be super high compared to the current rates, say we haven't done a rate review for a number of years. So you could adjust that municipal assist factor to kind of phase the rates in. In our case, it's not a substantial jump, so we're selecting the 1% municipal assist factor. And then you take all that and you divide it by the growth, and then you get your rate. Some of the major DCC projects are listed here. We have on the Chapman Water System, source water development, and that includes temporary infrastructure to draw down the lake in the event of drought. And that's under discussion right now at the board. But the plan does call for some sort of infrastructure so that we have the ability to draw down the lake in a serious drought condition.
Is that just the lake, Brian, or is that also that reservoir?
That's just the lake. So as far as source water development, it also includes the planning and land acquisition for an engineered lake. So that's the long-term plan, is to draw water off of Chapman Creek during wintertime to fill an engineered lake on Lehigh's property. Once there's an area that's been mined that is accessible to us. So it does include some money for land acquisition and to do the engineering, but it actually does include, we don't expect to be building that in time frame of this plan. Water treatment plant expansion includes the expansion of the Chapman Water Treatment Plant. A number of transmission upgrades. Transmissions are the larger pipes that send the water from the central treatment plant north and south, as well as distribution upgrades, which is the biggest portion of it. And that is, a lot of that is to deal with fire flows, but a lot of that will be apportioned to existing customers. The $13.5 million won't be fully funded by the DCC program. And a small amount there for demand management. We considered putting universal metering into installation of meters in this plan, but historically the ministry hasn't accepted that, even though it does buy capacity. But it was decided to leave universal metering out of the DCC project list. So, and that's kind of good news for developers. It makes the capital program smaller. And on the Eastbourne side, They do have, they need to develop additional water capacity there, so it includes source development, expansion of the treatment plant to supply that additional water, and distribution upgrades for both Eastbourne and Cove K. Big want is to improve fire flows. And feel free to ask any questions if you have a question on any slide.
So that's not a hell of a lot, I mean, about 25 million, whatever, over how many years?
This is based on our 25-year plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Essentially taking, there's a 25-year plan until 2011, so it's to 2036. The proposed DCC rates, this is the table that shows the rates that are proposed. The regional one would apply to the District of Seashell. And we have the Eastbourne and the Avon Cove K. The smaller systems, just due to the economy of scale, have higher rates. And probably the next slide.
Brian, before you flip the next one, that single family, are you sticking to that as a fixed single family? You mentioned square footage, are you going to have different, you're going to have a...
Yeah, single family will be per lot.
Per unit, okay.
Yeah, per unit. And it's only townhouses and apartments that get into the floor.
What's the rationale for the square meter on the townhouse and apartment rather than per unit?
It's an incentive to build smaller units. So the smaller the unit, the less DCCs you pay.
With no effect on water usage.
No effect on water usage. Well, the smaller the units, the less water they'll consume. The problem with single family is just because you have a smaller house doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be consuming less water.
So wouldn't you put metering in on those things?
Universal metering we're treating that as a given. The master plan calls for the installation of meters on all service connections starting next year.
I was kind of consistent with us because I heard you mention square meter after single family. Well, gee, that's going to be cute because ours is fixed and you'll be going to square meter basis for single family, so at least we're consistent that way.
Okay.
It's per unit charge.
Yeah, and the current DCC bylaw, townhouses and apartments are based on per unit as well.
The single family is about a little bit over double what it is now.
It depends on actually the next slide will show the comparison. It depends on the region. It's over double. Seashells was the lowest, 1650. So it is over doubling in Seashells. But which one was it? Was it the I can't remember which one was the western or the eastern was the 3,000. But yeah, Seashells is going up considerably more than the two other areas.
And why is an apartment much more than the townhouse?
Yeah, I could get into the details of the calculation, but essentially the estimated number of townhouse units and number of apartment units that are going to be built, and based on Statistics Canada information, and then we divided townhouses by 150 square meters per townhouse versus 80 square meters for apartments, and it's just the rate that came out of that calculation.
150 square meters for a townhouse?
Yeah, which is about 1,600 square feet.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
That's the consultants, those are the ones that's the numbers they selected. And apartments, 80 square meters is about 860 square feet.
Brian, that percent increase since 1997, is that the difference between the existing DCCs and the proposed?
Yeah, and that's an annual increase.
Okay.
So it's been 17 years since we've
Yeah, yeah.
touched our rates. So you'll see it ranges from a low of decrease in congregate care to the largest increases in the commercial industrial. Sorry. Seemed to have done a loop. Okay, and I just put this slide in just to show what would happen if the rates aren't updated. And essentially, we wouldn't accumulate the funds in order to do the expansion projects. So projects would have to be deferred. And a good example is the Chapman Water Treatment Plant, which is already at capacity. We're hoping to buy capacity through conservation measures like metering. But if we don't do metering, we'd have to defer the expansion of the plant because we wouldn't have the funds to build it, unless we basically hit the existing water users and hit the existing ratepayers to pay for that expansion. Or and development can be postponed due to lack of capacity. We have a strong reliance on grant funding. And as Ray knows, the competition for grant funding and the qualifications for grant funding is getting more strict. And then basically DCC reserves won't keep up with the cost and needs of the water system. So, like I said, DCCs help facilitate development, they help facilitate growth, and it's based on facts on what the capital cost needs are, and we need to start charging these higher rates in order to build up the reserves so that when it comes down, when we are short capacity, we can actually fund the infrastructure. And this slide shows the review process and the next steps. We started out with the Regional Water Master Plan, and I mentioned the business plan, the rates development, and the report that you have in front of you that's on our website is the one that went to the board. And we're at the green stage there, which is the public process stage, consultation and feedback. So our goal was to get feedback from as many people as possible. And I'm also doing an open house in Egmont tomorrow, and I'm doing one in Gibson's on Wednesday. So collect all the feedback we can. We've had everything online for quite a while. Get all that together, amend the draft report as necessary, get that back in front of the board, which is the next step. And once we're hoping to have the new bylaw adopted by year end, and but we're also recommending that the new rates don't go in effect for 6 months after adoption. So there will be a 6-month holding period where the current rates will still apply after the new bylaw is adopted. So it'll be the middle of next year if everything goes according to the schedule, where the new rates would kick in. And that's it. So we can take any questions, comments, and as Vince said, we're going to have. Are we just going to do it?
Let's see how it comes up, and if people are very satisfied with everything, great. And if not, if some issues arise, we'll talk about.
It's kind of a corker, isn't it, that both the SCRD and District of Seychelles have been so damn delinquent and not incrementally reviewing their bylaws every couple of years or whatever, 3 years, 5 years. I mean, we're still paid the rates, original park DCC and road DCC, just been marginally changed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you start to do something like this, it seems like a hell of a slam, but when you look at it over since 1997, it's just not that large a percentage increase.
No, if we just kept on doing cost of living increases,
Yeah.
yeah, we wouldn't be faced with this. But it is a lot of work to do a DCC review update. And I mentioned the whole master plan process that took us 5 years to complete
Yeah.
alone, so.
So the assumption is that we're going to grow at a sort of a constant rate of 1.2%? Or an average rate?
That's an
whatever
average
you wanna
rate.
say.
Yeah.
So what's that translate into 350 homes a year or something?
Well, right now we have,
People a year, isn't it, the homes?
Yeah,
we just have.
30,000 population, 1%, that's 300 people.
Yeah, so is it based on,
Well, it's based on statistics, it's based on, the LCPs were projecting anywhere from 1.2 to, I think, 1.7% growth. And, our historic growth, I think the past 5 years, the rural areas was about 1.2%. Seashell was higher, I think Seashell was the highest, 1.7%, something like that.
Yeah, well, not the last five, that was going back to around 2000. I included that peak area, so yeah, I'll let you know.
7. Yeah, but since then, things have actually been, I think, taken off.
Oh, yeah, no two ways about it.
On the way in, on CBC radio, protests in Hong Kong are stating that people are realizing they're not going to get democracy. And they're expecting an influx move to Canada from a lot of people, just on the way in today on that.
Yeah.
I heard today BC is back in favor with Alberta because of all that. Okanagan's on fire with growth. But it looks like it's going that way.
Yeah, so it all comes down to, trying to get as accurate projection as possible. So if we over-project the growth rate, then the fee will be too low, and it'll lead to a funding deficit. If we underestimate it, then the fee's essentially too high. But it also means that the infrastructures would have to be built sooner.
So what's the objective? To have growth, to promote growth, or to promote the replacement of the infrastructure or the expansion of it? And what is your the sustainability plan? You said something about, there was something earlier on.
Well, we envision sustainability plan.
Yeah. What is that? And what's the objective?
Okay. Well, the We Envision Sustainability Plan is a plan that was put together by community leaders throughout the Sunshine Coast. And it was adopted by the regional district a couple of years ago. It's not the regional district's plan, it's the community's plan. So it's, there's a number of stakeholders. There's something like, is it 18 or so stakeholders throughout the community that and they just held their first roundtable session just a few weeks ago. And basically, they set a vision for the Sunshine Coast, what they want to see the Sunshine Coast look like, 25, 50 years. From the school district, from community services.
Vital signs.
Vital signs.
Community futures.
Community Futures is on there. And
Community
the three
services.
municipalities sent representatives as well. And the SCRD is not our plan, but we do help facilitate it, and we do provide staff resources to it. So it basically it's a long-range vision of what they want to see the coast look like, and help portion the work, and so hopefully people will step up and champion different aspects of the plan. And then the roundtable pulls the progress and reports out on it. So, and it's just getting started. They developed a plan 2 years ago, like I said, but the action plan and implementation is just getting going right now. But as far as who sets the goals, the development goals, this is just taking the goals of the OCPs. And so this just takes what the OCPs are saying they want to achieve in all the communities across the coast and identifies a way to fund it. So the OCPs is driving these rates, essentially. And the OCPs drive the infrastructure needs. And you mentioned asset replacement. None of DCCs will go to asset replacement. So whatever's existing, that's funded by existing users. This is just expansion, the growth. Yeah.
So what's the expected reserve growth rate?
Well, we have a growth rate of 1.2%. That's what we're using in the bottom of that formula.
Reserve, what did they expect to grow with that? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Like, you've got 800,000 now, based on this, what would you have 3 years?
It's going to depend on growth.
It's on, no project.
And it depends on the projects that come forward as well. But what it's intended to do, you saw that $25 million plus capital program. It will hopefully fund that program over the 25 years.
So in other words, you're,
67% of that 25 million, the DCC would cover?
Yeah.
but the reserve is not expected to grow, right, Brian?
No.
It's there to actually finance the
It'll
growth,
be there to finance the projects to support the growth.
because it's taken off, right, it says minus, so that's why it's assumed to reduce the amount of capital needed for the rest of the projects.
So we need to build up the reserves so that when the project comes, we have enough money to actually build that project. So a water treatment plant, right now it's at capacity in the summertime. So we've delayed the expansion of the treatment plant. We're hoping to further delay the treatment plant by doing universal metering. But say tomorrow we're at capacity, we keep running over capacity, we have to throttle down and tell people you can't. We have to go to stage 3, stage 4 earlier until we expand the plant. And right now we have $800,000. That plant costs $7 million. So we don't have enough. In our
That's what
reserve.
I sort of mean, the incremental growth to that reserve from implementing these new DCC would get you to the 7 million in 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, and you can't, it all depends. It all
Just
depends on how many development
1.2%
applications.
growth is accurate.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah. If it's 0% growth, we're never gonna get there.
That's right.
So, but then we're never gonna need the projects. So,
You're never gonna need the project?
yes. If you don't have any growth, unless for some reason, people just go crazy with their water use. But based on current water use, per capita, yeah, if there's no growth, you won't need additional capacity.
And there's no staging the expansion of the water treatment plant?
This is just adding one more train.
One cell?
Yes, this is adding one more train, yeah.
And what does that give you, how many years? Is that presumed 2036 and taking into account the 1.2 average growth?
Yeah,
and that's all in the regional water plan.
Are there any factors of that 3,700 DCC for a new family house? Are there any factors that can lower that, needs gold or any incentives that would bring that down?
Cisterns?
In short, no. It's a flat rate. And you can make it as complicated as you want, but the single family ones are typically based on subdivision, so you don't know what's going on, and you collected a ton of subdivision, so you don't know what type of house is going to get built. What that will do when you go to a LEED house, where if you put in every single water conservation measure you can, it'll reduce your water bill when we go to metering. But right now we collect on single family, we collect a ton of subdivisions, so you don't know what's going to go in there.
So have you examined any ways of incentivizing?
Single family? This report didn't look into single family.
You know of any jurisdictions?
There are a lot of some with very complicated ECCs. Those are questions I could take back, we write it down and give it to our consultant. And I should say that recognize our consultants was Opus State and Knight that did our study for us.
Any questions from over on that side of the room?
Since it's been 17 years, when might the region look to review again for updating the DCCs?
Well, we should be doing it every 5 years,
Okay,
at least.
so we can look to have a change again in about 5 years.
Yeah, and it also depends on what happens with development. If nothing happens in 5 years, then
Strike reviews.
it's basically status quo.
But it takes 5 years to do the review.
It took a long time to develop that master plan, but now that that plan's done, each iteration should be a lot quicker.
So in 5 years, if there's no development, obviously your DCC costs are over the top too high.
Well, and our reserves will be at zero still, because we hadn't collected any money. So, but it does delay, it delays the need for the infrastructure as well, so.
Yeah. To say they don't affect affordability, I don't think it's quite true. Because there's a lot of ways of looking at affordability, and it's not just land cost. Land cost right now isn't particularly going up. But housing costs are definitely going up per square foot. Per all.
Construction costs.
Construction costs, you bet they are. The building codes are becoming more and more onerous every day. And that drives costs up considerably. So it's not just a function of municipal costs and DCCs and so on and so forth. Engineering requirements are going up. It goes on and on and on. The list is endless.
Yeah, but this is just another cost.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is the actual price of the house that hits the market isn't dictated by the cost. It's basically what a consumer's willing to pay. Right? It's market conditions. So
Yeah,
that's
of
what
course.
I was trying to communicate on the slide.
Yeah, and that's why there's not a lot of building going on right now.
Yeah, because market, yeah.
And it's just the way it is. And yet the average house in Vancouver is $960 now. It's fairly dear. How would any of us ever get into that market? That's another topic. I think those are things we really need to consider. And to actually make this thing work, we have to think outside of just the cost of construction and attracting. We have to figure out how we can attract people here. It's not just housing. It's not just cost of ECCs or anything else. I mean, we need other things, and we need to work together to make that happen if we really want growth. We have to have good paying jobs for people. We have to have sustainable jobs, the whole thing. I'd like to, I guess this roundtable on sustainability, we'll have to look into that. I think they're having another meeting here pretty quick.
Yeah, no, if you're interested, I can get you the name of the person that's facilitating the roundtable.
Yeah,
I don't know if Coast Community Building Association is part of that or not.
not to my knowledge, but maybe I've been left out, but who knows?
Okay, anything else from over there? Any questions? This is your chance. Quite a thorough presentation, Brian, but your time period for wrapping up comments of these 3 open houses, is there a chance for written comments in addition to tonight?
Yes, there is. Well, we have a feedback form,
Right.
and also on the website, there's all the information's hopefully we reach more people in the next,
Yeah,
little
surprised
while.
at the
Yeah, this is,
small turn.
we did direct invites to everyone as well, so.
We should have been so lucky ourselves.
So the PowerPoint's on the SCRD website now?
PowerPoint's, not on.
Okay.
I was gonna put it on after, yeah, it'll be on after today.
And your slideshow is also presented?
Yeah, I got hard copies of the slideshow there.
Okay.
But the background report, the comprehensive regional water plan, are all on the website, and feedback form.
And yeah, we've got these as notes of the questions that came up. I'll try to transcribe them for you after we're done. Thank you all for coming. I guess we can hang out and have any more discussion. There's water and cookies that are going to go waste.
Thanks for coming.